We're essentially dealing with modern technocratic barbarians. So they're people who have, technological capabilities, but their nature is to default to violence.
If you knew what you were made of, then we would save the world.
Our captain, Traore, has spoken, and he's given what is quite a disturbing potential warning. And I know I'm a little bit behind with this, but I wanted to talk a little bit about this speech that he gave, because it's now become very, very tangible, very real and very present in terms of what's taken place, especially with obviously the US, I'm going to call it invasion of Africa, where in cahoots, wherever, with the Nigerian government, they've been, bombing essentially the Sahelian border, the border that's shared between Nigeria and Niger. So there's clearly a strategic reason. And I read in the discussion, or one of my previous videos about this topic, I spoke about the fact that AFRICOM is kind of making its presence known. This military command center that the US has in Africa, that was founded by the idiot Obama, now it's trying to make its presence known in the region. And we really need to do. What's really ironic is how different this term for President Trump has been to his first term. He was so against war in his first term, and in this term he's just like the Zionist ultra puppet. We all know what's going on here. Well, if some of you might not know, but I think there was definitely some kind of blackmail that's taken place. But anyway, that's an aside. Let's get into this video and listen to what the captain has to say.
There is something coming to West Africa that I have called the Black Winter. The Black Winter is coming. It will be a very cold winter, a bloody winter.
So the Black Winter is coming. It's going to be a very cold, bloody and deadly winter. Those are stark words. But I think his ability and his knowledge of the way Western powers operate. One thing that Black people should be aware of is that there's no peaceful route to emancipation. There's no peaceful route to equality. When you're dealing with people who are essentially barbarians, we're essentially dealing with modern technocratic barbarians. So they're people who have, technological capabilities, but their nature is to default to violence. And I think this is something that the West has done very good, is projecting its violence, its bloodlust upon other people, and making it seem like other people are the bloodthirsty ones and they are just kind of like innocent. We're democracy. It's like, no, they are violence. They are literally the embodiment of violence and death and murder. That's how they got everything. Technological progress in the West is made via two routes. One is war, two is pornography. Those are the two routes that the West develops its technology. That's where you'll see the fastest development. It's got to be one or the other. And you can go through historically, you can see that. If we're talking about like physical technology, that is developed through warfare. Okay, that's where all these planes and all these aircraft and all these things, all of that happened as a result of war. If you're talking about download speeds, it's all pornography. That's the whole reason why video has been such a massive, has moved on so quickly. And, VR technology, it's all linked to people having better access to porn.
It's a pornography store. I was buying pornography. I would have never thought of that.
I'm just saying, pornography. It's all pornography. I was buying pornography. But yeah, so anyway, this is the people this is the nature of the beast that we are dealing with, and I like the fact that Traore is very knowledgeable of this.
A deadly winter. In founding the Confederation, we felt the cold approaching, and every single day we strive to find tree trunks to light a fire that will warm the heart of Africans, a fire that will warm the minds and the blood of Africans.
He's acknowledging the fact that he knows that when he founded the AES, that it wasn't going to be easy. Okay. And he set a fire that he said that he wants it to warm the minds and the heart and the blood of Africans. But he's also warning against the naivety. Okay, this is not going to be easy. They're not going to take it light. They never have done. And I like this because I think many times Africans have this very ahistorical perspective on how things play out, or for how things have played out historically, or how things can play out. And they really just believe that we can just, you know, in a diplomatically ease our way into the good graces. Gaddafi tried that. Okay, every leader before who has tried that has failed. It's only ever going to be nations that stand up with a military fortitude and a willingness to be as ruthless as their enemies that is going to see any longevity, because these people are ruthless. And the only thing that will stop them from being ruthless is feeling the same level of threat that they present to others. And that's the reality of it.
To unite us around it. Unfortunately, it must be said that some black people are there every day, pouring cold water on our tree trunks so that they cannot burn.
Right, he just said some Africans are pouring water on our trunks so they can't burn. And he probably includes Nigeria in this. And when he says Nigeria, he knows it's not the Nigerian people. He's talking about the fact that our puppet government, seemingly this latest leader, Tinubu, will do anything for the West. He will shake hands with France. Like that, to me, the shaking hands with France was even more disturbing than the, you know, allowing America to bomb Nigerian soil. And I know that will shock a lot of people, but that was you have a point there where you say, I will stand with Africa, or I will stand with Africa's enemy. And Nigeria's president chose to stand with Africa's enemy. They chose to stand with Africa's enemy. They said, no, we are going to align ourselves with this devil. We're going to align ourselves with this beast who has no respect for our people, no respect for people who look like me, no respect for this continent. But we're going to stand with them for our own selfish reasons, and we're not going to stand with our brothers and sisters who have risen up against them. If Africans just literally joined, linked arms in fortitude and said, we are not going to have any dealings with France, would be in a decade, they'd be gone. They'd be gone. It would be no problem. Like, they would no longer be a factor in Africa. But as long as they have these little coups who they can, you know, exact or enact their illicit and exploitative trade through, then that's where there's always going to be a struggle. And I'm making it very, very clear in this video. If it comes down to a point where I have to choose between my Nigerianness and the alliance of Sahelian states, I'm making it very clear I stand with the Sahelian states. I stand with Traore. Okay, I would never in a billion years, let me make this very, very clear, I would never in a billion years align myself with Nigeria if Nigeria took the position of any kind of belligerence towards the Sahelian states who have risen up against France. We have to come to a point where we realize that we are taking sides. When America decides it's going to bomb Nigeria, you have to take sides. You have to decide whose side are you going to be on here. I've already made my decision. There's no way on earth I will ever stand with France, with the CFA, with United States. I stand with the Sahelian states. I stand with the rebellion. That's who I stand with, unequivocally. So Nigeria, I hope you start making some better choices, because I don't think you realize, like, I will, if I see it going there, I will turn all of my channels into political channels, and I will speak out against you. And you'll realize that there's a lot of creators out there, and we're more powerful than you think we are. So you need to tread very, very carefully in regards to decide that you're picking here, and how much you're going to allow yourself to be exploited by the West, because you will quickly lose your diaspora. I'm telling you right now, there's no way I will stand aside and allow you to destroy Africa for your own selfish, for the gains of a selfish president or individual. It's not going to happen, not in a million years.
What will become of Pan-Africanism when winter comes? Winter will come because war is being brought to West Africa. The imperialists are doing everything they can to set West Africa ablaze. Chaos could take hold. Many people could die. We could end up killing each other in utterly horrific ways.
He's highlighting the fact that the imperial forces, this shouldn't even be a question, the imperial forces are essentially declaring war on West Africa. President Trump understood and knew it didn't matter where those bombs landed. Okay, some people have stated that those bombs that he set off in Sokoto, they didn't even hit anybody, they just landed in empty fields. But Trump understood the message that he was sending. He was saying, I can bomb in Africa. Listen, Sahelian states, listen to you. You guys think you're safe in Burkina Faso, in Niger, in Mali. You're not safe. I am now sending missiles in West Africa. I have got the capability to bomb inside of Africa. That's the message he was sending. So for all of you kind of like low IQ, stupid Nigerians who support this, you don't realize that this is not about Christians in Nigeria, this, that, and the other. This is about African Command Center, the US African Command Center, AFRICOM, making itself known as a military presence in West Africa. We have not had that kind of direct US intervention in West Africa for decades, for a very, very long time. And you've just opened the door to that. So when it comes to taking sides, it's not even a question for me. I know which side I stand on. I stand on Africa's side. I stand on the side of this Pan-African Sahelian movement. That's the side I stand on. And if it comes to a case where we are at a conflict, there is 0% chance or situation that I will fight on the side of imperialism. I will never, ever fight on the side of imperialism, to be clear.
And while this is happening, they will be there, plundering our wealth and imposing their will. And those who survive this tragedy will have only two choices: either unite forever against imperialism or resign themselves to being slaves until they disappear.
Exactly. I'm not going to resign myself to the position of a house slave as an African, fighting for the preservation of what? Well, if you're Nigerian and you support these bombings and this US intervention, for what? To what end? To what end? For the sustenance? Would you not prefer to be a nation moving towards liberation like this, like the Sahel, like Burkina Faso, like Mali, like Niger? Would you not prefer to be a nation that has a degree of, a vision, something to move towards? People have spoken about the fact that Nigeria was kind of like instrumental in the thwarting of a military coup that was taking place in Benin. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I really want to get under the skin of that, but some people have suggested it was a similar movement to the military coups that have taken place already across the Sahel region. God only knows. We need, Ouattara of Ivory Coast. He needs to go. So there's a movement that needs to happen here, and there's a side that you need to be on, and it's not the side of imperialism.
But be certain of one thing: we are united and we will remain united, and we must open our eyes. The AES will evolve, and when winter comes, if we must pass through it to be free, to be united, we pray to God for it to be so, and that He protects our people.
So, very, very strong words. This is about preparation, and I like the fact that he used the word evolve. One thing that I think we've been very guilty of, and I say guilty because in some ways it's not a bad thing. I think that Africans are actually, some people will find this controversial, but hear me out. I actually think that Africans are too evolved. We're too evolved. And this is one of the reasons why we don't we haven't adjusted well to the spiritual devolution that's required within individuals to be palatable, for war to be palatable. You have to be a very devolved human being to want to go to somewhere and slaughter everybody to take what they have. That's something that took place very early in mankind's evolution, and I believe that for the most part many Africans evolved beyond that. They moved beyond that to the point of diplomacy, and this is why people were greeted. This is why, you know, they had peaceful trade with Europeans for a long time before it turned into this kind of like more violent thing. And this is written about historically. You know, the Ethiopians, who are the Central Africans, you can read about how the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans talked about these people. They spoke about them like they were the, you know, the most spiritual. These are the people who were the priests of the house of Isis, and were the early priests of even the Roman Catholic Church would have been these Ethiopians, who were regularly called upon because they were seen as a very spiritual, highly evolved, close to the gods people. Okay, something's happened where now we've been pulled into this world, and actually it requires us to devolve as a people. We have to devolve to a state of war. We have to devolve to a state of responding to violence. It's an animalistic state. It's an animalistic state which the West has sold to the rest of the world as being advanced. They've sold their kind of like very base instinct of just invading, killing, removing, and you can hear the Western population, they all have that appetite. Oh, we should just go in there, get rid of him, kill all that, like desire to kill amongst even Christians in the West. I say mostly Christians actually. Desire to get what they want by violence is palpable. They're constantly in this state of violence, and we have to devolve ourselves to that way of thinking. Do you think Captain Traore it's his preference to have war or to prepare his people for violence? No, he has to do that because he understands the enemy that he has, that he has to devolve himself. He has to convince the African people, no, you're going to have to go into a state of devolution to be ready for a state of violence that you perhaps aren't happy to do. But you have to understand these people that we are in confrontation with, these imperialists, they are in that state. They haven't evolved beyond it, and they have no desire to evolve beyond it because it's been very advantageous for them to be a violent people. So that's it. That's the video, and a very harrowing speech made by Captain Traore, and Captain Traore, the AES, and any other Pan-Africanists. I want you to know that I stand with you. The King's Monologue stands with you. My channels stand with you, and I will never take the side of imperialism. It could be offered to me 1,000 times with a very, very healthy pay packet, and I will never, ever sell out my people. So yeah, I hope you found that informative, and yeah, check your next one. Peace.